how's it going? It's Clarice here. So yeah, I don't know if you watched my last video. I know I mentioned that I haven't been able to get to the cinema recently, so I've been pretty much relying solely on Netflix for like my movie fix, and I don't know if other people do this. I like to play something I call Netflix roulette, where I like get my watch list and then I just close my eyes and like scroll through and just land on a random film, and then I like have to watch it. So yeah, I did that the other day and it landed on Hard Candy, and I was like, oh my god, Netflix, I am so in the perfect mood to watch a pedophile get tortured. You just get me. That darn movie show. So yeah, I'm basically admitting that this is maybe a little bit of a random movie to review today, but it is on Netflix, at least in the UK, so if you wanted to check it out. The reason I put it on my watch list was basically that I'm quite a big fan of the two actors involved. So Patrick Wilson, who is just, he's so great in that one episode of Girls. So good. And also Ellen Page, of course. And yeah, I had heard that it had quite a reputation for being quite dark and disturbing, and I have to say I'm always kind of a bit attracted to movies with sort of controversial themes, just because I think, you know, it's interesting to explore those areas of humanity. And yeah, I don't want to spoil too much of this plot, so basically, very briefly, it's a two-hander movie between these two actors, where Ellen Page is playing this 14-year-old girl who baits and then sort of seeks revenge and tortures this older paedophile figure. So yeah, after all that, I was kind of disappointed by this movie. It wasn't what I was expecting it to be, and it wasn't really what I hoped it to be. I don't know if this was a case of maybe I was coming at it with very sort of different expectations, and that kind of maybe ruined my experience of the movie, but I just know that I am sort of personally hoping and coming into the movie sort of thinking it would be a subtle kind of psychological piece, you know, just really kind of exploring in depth these two very sort of opposite polar characters, and also exploring that very, you know, dubious kind of morality of, you know, is there really justification in vigilante justice, especially sort of when it goes to the extent and cruelty that it does in this movie. And I kept feeling like this movie was just always on the verge of kind of breaching that aspect, but would always just kind of pull back at the last minute to sort of focus on advancing the plot instead. But I did like the beginning. I liked the beginning a lot, and I think it sort of reflected a lot more of what I was hoping this movie would be, because it was really great at kind of exploring that awful kind of manipulation that goes on between predator and victim. And yeah, like the director David Slade used all these like really tight close-ups and all this very sort of quick editing between the two actors to create this real like uncomfortable sort of intimacy between them. And yeah, I think Patrick Wilson's acting in this scene was fantastic. His sort of like predatory gaze and his interactions with sort of Ellen Page were great. And yeah, and the way that he had this real self-awareness of what he was doing, and there are all these sort of comments that he tried to sort of pass off as being really like, yeah, almost sort of like jokingly sort of just thrown out, things sort of like, oh, I can't come to your house, or oh, I need to wait 4 years. And yeah, that self-awareness, I think it was really great writing, because I think it reflected a very sort of uncomfortable and sort of horrifying reality. And yeah, it was interesting writing in that scene. But when the victim sort of eventually turns on the predator, I feel like we lost all of that authenticity that had been built up. And I know, like, obviously there is an unrealistic element to a 14-year-old girl torturing an adult man, but I just felt like Ellen Page's character was just a little too clerical, a little too collected, just, you know, like, a little too slick, just a little bit too much like the Hollywood vision of a psychopath, rather than, you know, a genuine teenager pushed to extremes. So I don't know, would have liked to have seen her character have a little bit more doubt in her actions and maybe, you know, show a little bit more fear. Or maybe just go to like the other extreme and just make her completely sort of out of control and show some genuine kind of mental instability there. But I just felt like it didn't try for either sort of end of the spectrum, and it just, she didn't feel fully fleshed out. She didn't really feel like a real human being. And sort of the same thing went for the Patrick Wilson character, because it was weird, because near the end of the movie, there was a lot of sort of long takes and a large amount of time sort of focusing on his face and his face in pain and him in fear, and so it almost made it out like he was the kind of victim of this movie, like the leading man victim. And yeah, that was obviously very, very weird, because it just didn't really make much attempt to sort of, I don't know, explore sort of what drove him to commit his crimes. It sort of maybe brushes on that, but it didn't feel very genuine or sincere. And yeah, again, he just didn't feel like a fully fleshed out human being. And I feel like this movie should have aimed for more ambiguity, but because the characters were so roughly sketched out, I feel like it just didn't project much morality at all. It was just very vague. And I feel like that's because Hard Candy at its center, and no, it's not caramel. I feel like Hard Candy at its center is just very much like a straightforward action thriller that's just used a controversial subject as a kind of hook to reel people in. And yeah, as an action thriller, it did work pretty well. I was pretty gripped the whole way through, you know, sort of, what's gonna happen next? And, you know, some of the camera work was pretty cool. Some of the composition of shots was quite interesting. It used that very sort of minimal, stark style that's, you know, quite in with action thrillers in kind of a post-Born Identity world. Although there was this one thing with the camera work that just drove me like insane about halfway through, and it's the fact that anytime there was like a struggle, the camera work just started like shaking. It would just be like, oh no, oh no. Yeah, understandably that got pretty annoying pretty fast. But yeah, I do feel a little bit like taking such a controversial subject and just kind of using it as your kind of highbrow, like, edgy concept for quite a straightforward thriller is maybe feels, I don't know, a little bit disingenuous, you know, when you know that it can have such a violently emotional reaction from a lot of people. Yeah, I don't know, I felt a little bit weird about that. But yeah, I can't deny that it was a pretty good watch, and I think that if you're in the mood for a very sort of tense thriller, it's a pretty safe bet. But yeah, if you have seen Hard Candy, I would love to know what you think. You can either comment down below or you can tweet at me here. And oh my god, guys, I am seeing Inherent Vice tomorrow. This screening just came out of the blue, and like, I don't know if I'm like prepared for it. It's like the movie I was most looking forward to this year because I love Paul Thomas Anderson and I love Joaquin Phoenix, and I'm just so excited. So hopefully, yeah, I'll get a review for that up sometime near the end of the week. I'll try and do it as quickly as I can, and yeah, have a good one, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!